All right, guys, there's going to be some spoilers here. There will be spoilers as I talk about Spider-Man No Way Home. Or as they should have called it, keeping with the home theme, Spider-Man Home Run, because this movie actually did that. It hit a home run. Now, this is in no way to suggest that this movie is flawless or perfect. Like all of that Rotten Tomatoes 100% crap, as usual, you judge for yourself, all right? Because all of the interested parties have a say in that. I'm sure a bunch of people got paid off for that. But whatever. Rotten Tomatoes is garbage. You can't trust it. It's trash. Okay, so moving on. This is not a perfect movie. But let's get into this, guys. This is the Gospel According to Mark with a C. He is I, and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. Thank you for joining me once again, my friends. And yes, I went to go see Spider-Man No Way Home on Friday. All right, so we're going to talk about this, and like I said, this will include some spoilers, okay? Now, by saying that I enjoyed this movie, let's get something straight up front. I know that this is going to invite the meh sayers, okay? These are people who, when they hear that you like something, they make it their business in their sole purpose in life to tell you why the movie was not all that. Okay, so let's just get that shit out of the way, okay? I do not believe that the movie was all that for everybody, okay? And as far as that whole, this is the best Marvel or MCU movie ever, that's a matter of opinion, okay? I will say for me, it was probably the most satisfying, but each movie is different, dog. I mean, that's about as useful as sexing your girl and then later on thinking about your ex and how the two of them compare to one another. You might do that, but it's going to lessen your experience with the one that you're with. You know what I'm saying? You got to love the one you're with. And right now, I'm talking about this movie that I just saw. You want to know how I felt about other movies? Well, we can do that. But let's just focus on the one that we're talking about here. Okay? And because Marvel actually needed a win, okay? Because it seems like the whole world is like coming down on Marvel right now. It's in high fashion to hate Marvel and to hate the MCU. Everybody's doing it. Everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. And it didn't help, what was it, The Eternals, when that came out. I didn't even go see that. I think that's like the first Marvel movie that I did not go see in the movies. My son went to go see it with his friends. He said it was straight trash. So yeah, I think I'll pass on that. Okay, so anyway, in the face of all of this, Marvel has, they had some pressure on them. And if you're going to put your money on anything in Marvel, I would think that putting your money on Spider-Man is probably a good thing. He's like their most well-known, most beloved character ever. All they got to do is get it right. And they haven't been getting it right in the recent years, that have passed. So I went in kind of like, I mean, I knew what the buzz was because we've all heard the leaks and, all of the theories and stuff like that. So we kind of suspected what we were going to get. But because of the fact that you guys know, I've made it no secret, I have not been the biggest fan of Tom Holland as Spider-Man. He's had 5 movies that he's appeared in. 2 of them he was headlining, and in all of them he pretty much got overshadowed. I mean, I did like him in Civil War. He showed a lot of promise, but let's face it, this is not exactly the most comic book accurate version of Spider-Man that we've had, okay? So I have objected to that. Spider-Man was one of the first comics that I collected. So, of course, I was going to be a little bit more, the scrutiny was going to be more from people like me. So, I'm not the biggest fan of Tom Holland, okay? But I will say this. This movie was officially Tom Holland's coming out as Spider-Man. He owned it in this one. Finally, like I said, after 5 appearances as this character, finally he gets to step up into his own. He was actually the center of this movie. Not saying a banana to anybody. He wasn't Iron Boy. He was more closely drawn to the character as we've ever seen him before. The whole Peter Parker with great responsibility, or with great power comes great responsibility. The fact that he felt so isolated, especially by the end. That's something that Spider-Man actually does struggle with. So to give him that finally was a welcome change. So definitely satisfying. And for those people who say that, like I said, they can be so overly critical here that they can cheat themselves of an enjoyable experience. Like, the movie doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be flawless. Sometimes it could just be fun. Sometimes it can just be satisfying. And that's what I got out of it. So I'm not here to argue about the flaws and what should and should not have happened and all that stuff. All I know is that I went in there and I had a great time. Okay. So Tom Holland definitely got it done. Doctor Strange, he's moving it along. He's quickly becoming an MVP. Like in my book, guys, you got to stay for the post credit scenes, especially the last one involving Doctor Strange and where we're gonna go from here. Because I was pretty tickled to see that it actually ties into that What If episode, probably the best What If episode that we got of that season. So you see that and you're like, oh shit, and actually almost, it ties into WandaVision as well. So I'm not somebody who dumps on WandaVision. I actually appreciated it for what it was. To me, the weakest show, the weakest MCU show was what was it? Winter Soldier and Captain America, or Captain America and Winter Soldier, whatever. That was the weakest one. But the other ones, I mean, I pretty much enjoyed them for what they were. Like I said, they don't have to be perfect for me, but if they have to be perfect for you, fine. That's what it is. I just know that I waited a long time to see these characters up on the big screen, to see these characters, like being brought to life. So now that this is happening, it's just ironic to me that you have people now talking about what is and what is not cinema. Look, there are different genres of movies and TV shows for a reason, okay? If it's not your genre, it's not your genre. But to just say like, oh, this is just trash and everybody who likes it is brain dead, get the fuck out of here, man. That's just hatred. That's just haters. Okay, so anyway, with this movie, okay, you got MJ, you got Ned, and Peter. And they're basically having a very, very hard time now that Mysterio has outed Peter as being Spider-Man. Like, the whole world knows it right now. So he literally cannot live. He literally cannot have a life. And that's not the worst part of it. The worst part is that those associated with him are not able to live or have a life. So in his desperation, he turns to Doctor Strange to come up with a spell to make everybody forget that he's Peter Parker. Okay, so Doctor Strange tries to do this, but it's complicated by the fact that Peter wants MJ to remember and Ned to remember and Aunt May to remember, and it just complicates things, and it all goes wrong, and it opens up the multiverse. And through the multiverse comes Dr. Octopus, comes Electro, comes Sandman, and Green Goblin. And I have to say, they all did incredible jobs. You know what I mean? Alfred Molina was spot on. He was perfect. Of course, Sandman, Thomas Hayden Church, always dependable, always reliable, did a great job. Dude just wanted to be out of there. You know what I mean? And who else? Jamie Foxx. Okay, Jamie Foxx would have to be the weak link in the villains, because to me, he was just playing Jamie Foxx. To me, he wasn't even in character. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really know if that's the way he was in the other movie, because I didn't really watch the other movie too much, because like I said, Tom Holland Spider-Man was not always my Spider-Man. But to me, he was just playing himself. You know what I mean? But I will say that William Dafoe gets MVP. That dude was amazing. Dude, he was better than he had a right to be coming into a role that he did so many years ago. He was menacing. He was threatening. He was everything that he needed to be. It was amazing. You know what I'm saying? And he did a great job. So there was that. And of course, guys, all right, like I said, spoiler, that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire show up here. Okay. And both of them were amazing. Andrew Garfield was probably at his most lovable. Dude looked great. I mean, he could still be playing the role easily. He came through. The audience went wild. I don't even know what dialogue was being said, because the cheers was amazing. It was out of control. You know what I'm saying? And that was just me and my son. But no, everybody was going nuts. And also, when Toby came through, Toby mother effing Maguire, bro, I thought the roof was gonna cave in. It was so crazy. So talk about a crowd pleaser. And they did justice by both of their characters. Andrew Garfield had some incredible moments, because what they did right is that they showed these characters as wounded, because they had to identify with Tom Holland's character, who had just lost Aunt May. It was a terrible scene, and Tom Holland nailed it, by the way. His acting, like I said, I got to give it to him. He made a believer out of me. My heart broke for him as his heart was breaking when Aunt May was dying. I mean, it was very, very well done. And he was in a place where it would have been very hard for people to reach him. But you had Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man to come in and say, listen, we've been where you are. We can relate. It was a very heartfelt scene when they talk about their losses as well. Andrew Garfield, we know what haunts him. And Tobey Maguire, perfect as a more experienced Spider-Man. Like, you could tell he had been through some stuff. Like I said, either one of these guys could get their own movie, because they were just that fascinating in the way that they were portrayed. And you realize that all of these Spider-Men not only came from a different universe, but also a different point in time. You had three Spider-Men at three very distinct points in their careers. You know, you had Tom Holland Spider-Man, who's just now learning about sacrifice, personal sacrifice, you know, and the awesome emptiness of making a decision where it literally leaves you as practically the last man on earth, you know, out of time, out of place, you know. And then you have Andrew Garfield, who is in a place where he's getting over rage, it seems like, you know, the unfairness of it all, you know, the fact that he couldn't save Gwen and he was actually the instrument of her demise, the love of his life, something that he's still struggling to forgive himself for. And then you have Tobey Maguire, you know, his Spider-Man, who obviously has been through a lot. You know, it's like there's a point where he gets stabbed and you think he's died. And the way he says it, the way he delivers the line, "I've been stabbed before." It's like this dude has been through some stuff. You know what I mean? And I love the fact that when Tom Holland gets to the point where he can extract his revenge on the Green Goblin, it's Tobey Maguire who stops him. And without a word, the look in his eyes from Tobey Maguire to Tom Holland was so powerful, because Tom Holland wants to kill the Green Goblin. He's actually going to do it. It's Tobey Maguire who stops him, because he's reminding him that this is not what we do as Spider-Man. We do not do this. And the respect that I have for that is so big, because I feel like the way that heroes are presented these days, everyone wants to embrace the dark side. You know what I mean? Like, you have a million people who will justify that Superman kills or Batman kills, the Punisher, of course, you know, and we want to see our heroes be gritty. But I love the fact that Spider-Man is probably one of the last ones that keeps that line in the sand where he's just not going to do it. And I think that it's so powerful that he's the one who does that, because he's lost so much. He's been through so much pain. He's been through so much hurt. Yet this is still a character who can make jokes. You know, this is still a character who can still come across as boyish. Like, he's in defiance. He's holding on to a little bit of that naiveness. You know, so I love the fact that he is like that. And he reminds Tom Holland Spider-Man that you have to maintain that. He has every reason to kill, every reason to be twisted, but he holds on to what's decent inside of him for Uncle Ben's sake, for Aunt May's sake. You know, and I love that. I love that about that character. It makes him one of the strongest of all. Like, it takes nothing to give in. Like, you can understand killing. It takes nothing to give in to that. A lot of these super villains and stuff, of course, they deserve it. You know, you would end a lot of pain and suffering if you would just take them out. But Spider-Man, he's maintaining that in this sense, in this context right here. And he relays that without saying a word, you know, between Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and Tom Holland Spider-Man. So I think that they did an incredible job. Like I said, it was a crowd pleaser. There's no shame in giving people what they want. You know, so I think that Marvel, hopefully they can learn something through this, that everything doesn't have to be woke. Everything doesn't have to teach a lesson. People just want a good, strong, solid story with good, compelling characters that you want to spend time with, that you want to root for. And that's what we got, guys. It doesn't have to be perfect. Like I said before, it doesn't have to be the best ever, but for my money, it was satisfying. And you guys know my rating system. I go from 0 to 4 flushes. Of course, 0 flushes means that there's no shit involved. You know, I wouldn't change anything about it. It doesn't mean it's perfect. It just means that there's no bullshit. You know what I mean? 4 flushes, of course, means that it's full of shit. It's backed up. Occasionally, a movie is so bad, so very bad, that it gets 4 flushes and a plunger. Okay, and that's what actually I gave Santa Inc. But you know, it's very rare that I do that, and it's also very rare that I can give a movie 0 flushes. But I'm gonna give this one 0 flushes, because it was, once again, one of the most satisfying movie experiences I've had for a very, very long time. So guys, you can get in the comment section if you've seen it or when you see it, and you can let me know how you felt about this. Like I said, it's easy when somebody says they enjoy a movie for people to say that they didn't enjoy it or why I shouldn't enjoy it. But like I said, it's about the discussion here. So let me know how you felt about it. It's all good. And as always, you can like, you can share, you can subscribe, you can catch me on Odyssey, soon to be on Rumble. I'm setting it up now. You can catch me on Twitter. I'm going to leave those links in the description below. So come and give me a follow, guys. Thank you for listening. I'll catch you on the next one. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on.